Hello and welcome to the Steadfast Show. I'm your host Goautam. Today's guest did not just ride through the mountains, he built an empire in them. He is the driving force behind MTB Himalaya, one of the toughest and the most iconic mountain biking races in the world. He is the director of HASTPA, the creator of Tour de Sanar, and now he's leading the charge with his cycling startup Cycle Circle. He has spent the last 2 decades turning his passion into purpose, one rugged trail at a time. But what truly sets him apart is not the altitude that he's conquered, but the community that he's built. From soldiers to students and global pros to first-time riders. He is a dreamer with dirt on his shoes and a dream in his soul. And he's here today to talk about everything from brutal climbs to epic wipeouts and partnerships with game changers like Steadfast. Please welcome our guest today, Ashish Sood. Hi Ashish, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hi Jitama, all good?
All good?
Yes.
First of all, thank you for taking out time and joining us here. So let's start with your cycling journey. आप हमें बताइए, what was the first thing that got you hooked into cycling?
So my cycling journey, obviously, everybody started as a kid, right? I was probably in class 1 or class 2. And I was trying to learn a bike. And I would sit on my elder brother's bike, on the mudguard at the back because my feet wouldn't touch the ground.
Okay.
And my dad ran a grocery store in Shimla. So this was right opposite that, like a little slope. And that's where I learned how to ride a bike. So that's what got hooked. That first moment when you learn how to balance, that got me hooked to the machine itself. But then obviously, you grow up, you grow out of cycling, and then unless you find a hook back into it, it's very hard to kind of continue. For me, that hook happened in 2008. I was working with TCS.
Okay.
And I spent 90% of my first salary into buying a bike.
Okay.
And then I would ride that to work, and that kind of became my first hook. And then when I went to the US, then I got this really cheap bike of Walmart, and then I was riding that around for 2 years. And yeah, everywhere, you would go grocery shopping on that, you would go to play sport on that, you would go to the college on that. So yeah, that was the hook. That's how the concept of cycling got in. And then in 2013, I'd quit my job, quit my corporate career, and moved back to Shimla to work with MTB Himalaya. And that's when I realized I need to learn this sport before even trying to organize it. And that's when I started to mountain bike and ride on trails, ride off road. And then that's an addiction. That's an adrenaline fueled sport, so it's quite an addiction.
I remember my first time on a bike. I fell.
We all do.
Decided to never do it again. But
we need to get you back on the bike.
Can't relate, but okay.
No, we need to get you back on the bike. When was this?
I think when I was in 3rd or 4th class.
Yeah, correct.
Maybe 5th. Don't remember.
I think I was also in class 2, class 1 or class 2. But yeah, that feeling was, I can't forget that ever.
आपने साइकिलिंग की, आपने एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप भी कर ली, अब आप एक प्रोडक्ट इनोवेशन में भी हैं. So how did this journey shape you personally and professionally?
So, like I said, I had a very regular corporate career. I did computer science engineering, and then I went to the US, did a master's in operations management, came back, started working with a computer company called HP. In analytics. So I was going the usual way, but I had played sport throughout my life, when I was working, when I was studying in school, college, whatever. And that kind of kept alive some, aspiration to be able to do something in a sport in life. That moved me towards cycling. And then I found that in cycling, it was a very underrepresented sport in the country. There weren't too many people talking about it at the time that I got into it. And yeah, so that kind of became an aspiration plus a dream project plus a way of working to build a culture, to build a whole ecosystem around it. And yeah, that has shaped me a lot personally. I think it's a part of my identity now. uh, it's actually a very integral part of my identity. It's no more that I'm Ashish and I do this. It's Ashish and I am related to MTB Himalaya and I'm related to Cycle Circle, and these two things have become a big part of my identity. So both like in terms of how I see life, the character I developed over the years, because it's also a struggle in a sport like this in a country. It's not like cricket or football that there are eyeballs in you. So it's also like a constant struggle. So it shapes you. It shapes you as a human being. You start valuing community a lot. A lot of the sport was anchored around community and some like-minded people who stuck with us for a really long time. So yeah, I think overall as a personality, as my character, as an individual, it has really shaped me, improved who I was or who I would have been if I had stayed the usual path. So yeah, very thankful to it in that sense.
I've realized engineers सब कुछ करते हैं but engineering नहीं करते.
Oh yeah.
I'm an
I was
engineer too.
oh, you are?
Never did anything related to
What
that.
kinds?
Let's talk about it later.
Yeah. I don't know a thing about my engineering. Like, it was really bad.
Yeah, who is good are the ones who are, I think, doing something related to engineering.
Sure.
Others are definitely not.
Yeah, others who decided ki need to get out of it. Yeah, of course. They weren't great engineers, I'm sure.
Looking back, what was the biggest challenge for you when you were trying to turn your passion of cycling into your profession?
That's a interesting question. I don't think there was like one particular instance. It was an evolution, right? It was it's hard even now. So it's not that you've arrived now and everything is smooth, and it's still like raising sponsorship is still hard. It's as hard today as it was in 2013. Bringing international athletes into India to do a race that you're organizing is still as hard. Obviously, like things have developed. There's an ecosystem that's come up, but yeah, there's no one instance. I would say it's a series of things. For me, a big lesson was when I moved back to Shimla. I was basically living off my PF, and then at that year, an international athlete called Luis Pinto came to India in 2013. We had not seen, like, I don't think anybody in the country had seen that level of riding or mountain biking. Like, he was faster than jeeps and climbs. So we were like, wow, what is this? And we realized like he's one of the best in the world for the discipline, and that really kind of flipped it for us, where we were like, okay, if we are to do this, we have to really up our game. We can't operate at the level that we are operating right now. We really need to like take it a notch up. And that's when I started to kind of build a team around it. And that really helped, because MTB Himalaya was founded by my elder brother, right? And they had done really amazing work to bringing it to that level. But when these top class riders started coming in, that's where I realized, like, if this passion has to become like a profession. So I could say that was a trigger moment, but it was not one instance. It had always been an evolution of multiple small things adding up.
Okay, so we all know MTB Himalaya is one of the most iconic biking races in India and Asia and the world.
Yeah.
Who's actually the brain behind it, and how did it all start?
So, my elder brother, Mr. Mohit Sood, he is the founding president of HASTPA. He, with a few friends of his and with the support of the Department of Tourism in Himachal Pradesh, started it. So I can say it's Mohit's brainchild.
Okay.
He was the one who saw this vision, and I think for him the inspiration also came from a couple of his friends who were visiting India, and they were traveling the Himalayan countryside on cycles, and they kind of recommended that this could become a big destination for mountain biking. Your terrain is beautiful, it's the biggest mountains in the world, they're safe, and they're obviously like so much variety in terms of its terrain in Himachal. So it was their recommendation that you should start this concept in the country, and that's how it came about. So yeah, I would say him and his group of friends were the people who saw this vision for the first time.
Okay. People have friends who give them these sort of benefits कि brainstorm कर रहे हैं. I have friends with losses. No फायदा at all. So what sets MTB Himalaya apart from other biking competitions or events? Because there are so many in the world, in India, in
Yeah.
Asia. But MTB Himalaya is one of a kind. What makes it such an event?
Yeah. See, honestly, I don't think there's any event in the country that's even close to MTB Himalaya.
Right.
Um, and what sets it apart is it's everything, right? Like from the biking itself, like the core of the event, which is cycling. So the toughness of the event, the Himalayas make it extremely hard. Uh, and I think more than anything, it's the people, right? It's the team that's behind MTB Himalaya. I think it's a eclectic mix of individuals. It's like people who are doing different things. So there's no like full-time employee at the MTB Himalaya office or anything. It's everybody has different day jobs. They all come together for the passion of the sport.
Okay.
It's run as a not-for-profit. It's a completely people-driven initiative that stood the test of time for 20 years. I don't think any other race in the world which is a not-for-profit has stood
Right.
that longer a time. And the Himalayas, I think, again, like it goes back to the terrain. It's the most beautiful race in the world, and it's not also just a race. We feel it's an adventure slash a mountain bike race, so very unique like that. Because we still like, let's say, like for example, I've done the bike Transalp in the Alps, right? That's supposed to be the oldest MTB stage race in the world. That race itself is a pure race.
Okay.
So there are handmade, man-made trails, like purpose-built trails that are built for the sport. Whereas we are using walking trails in villages, we are using jeep roads, panchayat roads, right? So it's very raw. It's not purpose-built for mountain biking, and that's what makes it unique. The people, the terrain, the geography, all of those things, when they come together, they make it very unique.
So how is the European or foreigner cycling scene with MTB Himalaya? I hear that a lot of foreign cyclists, specifically from the Europe, come and join the Indian cyclist during MTB Himalaya. So how is it like?
Yeah, so this is the only race in the country actually where you have serious athletes coming in from outside India, right? I don't think even like races organized by the federation have that kind of athlete profiles as here. We've had world champions come in multiple times, not just once or twice. We've had Olympians come in here and race. So again, the uniqueness of the race is such that we get a really high retention rate in the sense that people come here for the experience, and a lot of them say it's so much more than a race, right? It's an experience of a lifetime. They say that we go to multiple races, like we do 20 races a year, but this is a more special race that we come to every year. So I think they obviously come for the technicality of the race as well as the overall experience, which goes beyond racing. Like we do a lot of work with community, the Himalayan villages. We do a lot of work with kids around the race. So I think these elements kind of really add on to the overall value proposition that is there for somebody to come and experience.
What would you say is the most underrated skill that a cyclist has to have in order to go through that experience of MTB Himalaya?
It's your ability to not give up.
Okay.
I think that's very clear. Like you can be the best. I've seen like some top of the line athletes in tears after like 2 hours on the bike over there. And I've also seen people that if you look at, you think, oh, how is this guy ever going to like complete this race? We've had one story. There's a farmer called Datta Patil.
Okay.
He rides bare feet. Okay. And the first time he completed MTB Himalaya was 2006, bare feet. He cycled from Sangli in Maharashtra to Shimla first.
Okay.
Then he's finished the whole race without wearing shoes on a bike that weighed 25 kgs. So you've had those kind of stories and those kind of people where it's the ultimate like willpower that can take you through. So I think that's the most underrated kind of skill. People talk about your technical ability, people talk about your climbing skills, how do you go downhill, all of that is fine, you need all of that, but I think it's more mental, like mind over muscle for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm looking forward to more such stories.
Yes.
Okay, logistically speaking,
Yeah.
Himalayas is one of the most beautiful, I mean, gorgeous place to be cycling around
Yeah.
at, but one of the most difficult.
Yes.
Like threatening, if we are, you know,
Yeah.
like आप पहले से रेकी कैसे करते हैं of the area, because it is not possible for humans to reach down there and, you know, understand the area. So what exactly happens in case of a mishap? Airlifting होती है, or how do you take care of any such mishap that happens?
Yeah, you're right. It is one of the harshest terrains in the world. It's very rough mountains. But like I said, it's a very experienced team that organizes it. And there's a lot of work that happens through the years. It's 20 years of now collective knowledge and wisdom over like a group of 100 individuals that has kind of shaped it now. It's the government infrastructure, I would say, still very weak for a sport like this. So you have to continuously kind of keep exploring terrain.
Okay.
So we do a lot of work. The recce's happen. Like there's a group of people that's always kind of exploring these trails, either walking, either riding.
Okay.
We have a really good team of paragliders within the team. So some areas they're gliding over. So there's an identification of trails, terrain that's happening constantly. In addition to that, we're also working with the administration in Himachal Pradesh to build a network of trails that can be purpose built for mountain biking. That's a dream project for us
Right.
as an organization to kind of come to. But yeah, I think it's a mix of like continuous work through the year, as well as now the collective wisdom of so many people that kind of makes it happen. And we work very closely with villages, like I said, right? So every village that we go to, where we camp, we try to involve as many people from those villages into the
Okay.
whole system. They feel a part of it. They help you. They're the experts of their own village, right? We can't tell them. We can't be knowing more than they do. So I think it's all of that that comes together.
Okay. But we forgot to touch this point. Like, if in case of a mishap, what
Yeah.
are the measures
Okay.
that are
Okay.
being taken?
So in case of a mishap, see, our team is a mix of mountaineers, the people who are experts in search and rescue operations, also a part of the team. Some that are constantly a part of the team, some that are hired for the race. We are an event that's deeply supported by the Department of Tourism, and they're the coordinating agency, and then they kind of work with our other government departments, including the GAD, including Health, Ministry of Health. So you have ambulances that travel with the race.
Okay.
We have our own ambulance that kind of goes with the race everywhere. Then all the PHCs, the public health centers, the CHCs are all on standby, all on alert. We try to get in partnerships with big hospitals like Fortis, etc. Yeah, so in case of, and then there are marshals, right, on the route. So let's say you every 3 kilometers you have a marshal on a 70-80 kilometer route, and there's a live tracking of rider that goes on. So you
Okay.
can within 10 minutes respond to an accident. That's our response time
Okay.
for a race. Touchwood, most times it's been spot on. We've had people that we had to airlift as well.
Okay.
So we've had serious accidents. We've had people with like a lot of broken bones, broken spine, etc. International riders have been airlifted out of India as well. There have been serious injuries, but that's a part of the sport. It happens. People who sign up for the sport understand that it's
Yeah,
the
they're aware.
Himalayas and there are repercussions to the decision. But yeah, I think we've been very blessed in terms of both with the support from the administration as well as other private partners who've helped us navigate this.
Okay, tell us something about Road to Himalayas. What is that really?
Road to Himalaya is something very close to my heart. I'll give you the idea of Road to Himalaya. When we used to do MTB Himalaya in the beginning, right, we realized the gulf between Indian riders and international riders is huge. The same stage, international rider can finish in 3.5, 4 hours, but an average Indian rider is taking 7 hours.
Okay.
Right? And sometimes they're riding in the dark. It's really hard. Like I said, like these are not easy stages, like 80 kilometers, 2,500 meters of climbing in raw. It's not even tarmac roads, and it's like all off road, right? Dangerous. So that's when we split the two races, MTB Himalaya and MTB Shimla, right?
Okay.
And then we decided, like, okay, if somebody has to participate in MTB Himalaya, they have to come through like at least some sort of like a qualification process. I wouldn't call it like that's the only. We're still an open race. You can still pay the entry fee and come in for the race. But this was created more for people who want to be a part of the race, who sometimes feel that they can't afford to participate in the race, but still are budding athletes, have an interest in the sport, want to prove a point. So we start, and so we started in 2016. I think the first Road to Himalaya, we held it in 3 cities as qualifiers, and the response has been amazing. So you bring in bike shops, you bring in local cycling clubs, you bring in those communities, they all come together, organize a race. The top 3, 4, 5 people kind of then get qualified to come to MTB Shimla or Himalaya, जिसका भी आप qualification process कर रहे हो. We've been able to cover more than 30 cities so far in the country, which is huge. And people like in each of these cities come, pay an entry fee, do a race, qualify. So I think we're able to kind of create a buzz around the fact that there is a sequential, gradual way to go up till MTB Himalaya. If you're a good athlete, you don't need to spend money to get into the race.
Kind of lateral entry.
Yeah, lateral entry through a qualification process, through your skill and merit and a desire. So I think that's really nice. And so similar to Road to Himalaya, we also did school programs when we initially started. In fact, we've identified 3 of our national champions in these school programs, where we would go to a school and initiate cycling.
Is this Tour de
Sanar? No.
हम cover करेंगे, so
yeah, that came in. That comes in later. This I'm talking about 2012.
Okay.
We started going to schools, doing these one-day workshops in schools. We've gotten kids interested from there, gone on to represent their state, and then eventually even winning nationals. So that's been very rewarding. Similarly, Road to Himalaya, very rewarding. You've seen people like who don't have great bikes. They've gotten a platform in their city. They've come to MTB Shimla, all expenses covered. They've done well in MTB Shimla. They've been sponsored by a bike company. So like coming a full circle. So yeah, that's something very close to our heart. Very, very proud of it.
You should be.
Yeah.
Okay, so Indian Army also participates in MTB Himalaya.
Yeah.
Can you share some interesting incident, because you know Indian Army is being talked about so much because of the ongoing critical situation in the country.
Yeah.
So is there something interesting or something, you know, worth mentioning that you would like to really talk about?
Yeah, so many stories with Indian Army, you know. Indian Army Adventure Wing, Indian Naval Forces, Indian Air Force, BSF team, ITBP team, SSB team have all participated in MTB Himalaya through different years and different sections. Indian Army Adventure Wing the most. And Indian Army Adventure Wing was the first, you can say, organized cycling team in the country.
Okay.
And you know, this is 20 years of MTB Himalaya, HASTPA this year, a parent body. So I have been trying to myself go through pictures from 2005 to 2025. And some of these images are just like incredible. That people like bare bones strong. They don't have great bikes. So there were no great bikes in India in 2006 or 2005. But these guys were just like, I remember one incident, like we were going in a Jeep, right? And this guy, his name was Kalyan from the Indian Army. His chain broke on the bike, okay? And this is like a steep climb. It's a 14-degree gradient going up to Jalori Pass, and his chain is broken. It's a 30-kilometer climb.
Okay.
And this guy was kind of in the top 2-3, he was kind of shuffling those positions in competition with the Nepalese team. And this guy, after a point, like just like picks up his bike on his shoulder and starts running.
Wow.
And I think he ran up 30 kilometers with the bike on his back, and like I think he was faster running than on the bike. But yeah, there's like so many stories of their grit and just like the strong-headedness of the willpower that I was saying. Like, and they were not like trained athletes into mountain biking. That training began much later. In 2005, nobody was really training, right? That came in like 2014, 15 when the Indian Army team also started buying more high-class equipment, started going for international races, etc. So yeah, they were kind of the pioneers in terms of organized teams racing in India in cycling.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cannot imagine doing that.
Yeah.
Over the years, the cycling culture has really changed in India.
Yeah.
What role do you think MTB Himalaya has played in it?
I could be biased, but I think the biggest role, it showed the way. It was that, see, this event started in 2005. It's older than Firefox, the bike company. It's 20 years. Like, there was nobody in India talking about cycling at that point of time.
Right.
Like, you know, you probably had like maybe 200 people in the whole country who biked around. So this was before the Indian Army team was formed. So there's like, it's kind of led the way, especially in mountain biking. Obviously, like with this, the progression of athletes into using technical equipment increased. International brands came into India around the same time. I think Trek came into India in 2006 or 7 maybe. Scott came into India much later. People got exposed to the idea, right? That you can take a bike and go up a hill. You can ride down a mountain. It is a liberating sport. It's an individual sport. It's a team sport. So I think there are few events that kind of lead the way like that. And then like in the South Tour of Nilgiris came around. That was a road biking event. Over here, other similar cycling races started taking shape. Something came up in Nainital. Something else came up in Dehradun. Something came up in the Northeast. So people started realizing, okay, there is an adventure sport side to it.
Right.
But there's also like a sport side to it. Like it's not just an adventure. I think the Cycling Federation of India woke up from their deep slumber, and they started realizing that, okay, yeah. Before, I think till about 2013, 2014, the nationals on MTB nationals in the country were being held on tarmac roads.
Yeah.
Right? So I think MTB Himalaya kind of set that benchmark, both with national and international riders. And if you have like international riders coming in 3 times, 4 times, 5 times for the same race, means you're doing something right. So it became the showcase event. There's no other event in the country where you could stand next to a world champion and try and attempt the same route. One of our riders, Akshit Gaur, he in fact teamed up with an international world champion, Jason English, a 7-time world champion and Australian. He volunteered to, do it for an Indian rider. He's like, yeah, I want to do it. Like, so they paired up as a team of 2 and they did a full race together. And so, yeah, I think it's done a lot for the sport.
Really. Akshit Gaur is also a Steadfast athlete, I think.
Yes, he's also a Steadfast athlete. Yes, Akshit Gaur. He's also part of Cycle Circle, also a Steadfast athlete. Yeah, double national champion.
Wow.
So, yeah, very, very good boy.
Okay, let's talk about some of the cycling legends. I've heard this name Dicki Soluja.
Oh, yes.
What do you have to say about him?
Again, one of the pioneers of fitness / running / cycling in India. Recreational cycling as we know it, he was one of the first few people who kind of started that. He's been a mentor to MTB Himalaya for the longest time. He was there at the first MTB Himalaya that happened in 2005. So yeah, he's been cycling, I think, for more years than I was born.
Right. Does he cycle even now?
Yeah, he lives in Ranchi now. And yeah, he lives with his mother and he cycles and he runs and yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what do you have to say about Goautam Chima and ATH?
Goautam Chima and I have a Chhattis Kankra, but we're also very close friends.
Why is that?
Because we kept pushing each other to the edge. Goautam would always come and abuse me for the routes I would set up at the race. And I would just tell him, you folks from Delhi are just too slow and you keep complaining.
Okay.
So there was always that Shimla Delhi thing, but also we're very, very close friends. And a lot of that pushing kind of gave birth to ATH at one point, like all those conversations and arguments. And Chima started a revolution in Delhi. And we, in a joking way, always say it's all Chima's fault. So yeah, ATH was born after one MTB Shimla in 2014.
Okay.
After very heated discussions on what Delhi people should do to ride better. But jokes apart, ATH is now it's in 11th year in Delhi. They started the underground racing scene in Delhi for MTB. Proper racing, proper community driven. Yeah, it's really, and we have an ATH race tomorrow, by the way, which is a road to Himalaya organized by ATH. So see, that's the full circle of
Right.
MTB Shimla, road to Himalaya, ATH. It's just one big community that's operating together to kind of grow the sport. Yeah, and Chima has moved out of India, but he's in Canada now. This lovely family, but yeah, he's one of the pioneers of starting this in Delhi.
Is he cycling there?
He is. He has 11 bikes, I think there.
11 bikes?
Maybe more. I
Does
don't
he
know.
rent it out?
No. Yeah, Chima is cycling. I think he put on a little bit of extra weight in the recent past, but I think he's back to cycling.
You've had a long-standing association with Steadfast Nutrition.
Yeah.
How did that relationship begin?
That relationship began before Steadfast was even born. That was through Aman and the Merida team and Sameer and all of these guys, you know. So, like I said, it began as a community member, and Aman was very regular at the ATH races here in Gurgaon. He was a regular at MTB Shimla. Sameer was a regular at MTB Shimla. So yeah, it began as human beings knowing another human beings doing the same kind of things. So it all began like that, and then when Steadfast came into existence, Aman was always like super supportive of the whole scene. He was there at every race. He was supporting every athlete. So I think now since 2017, I think we're partners in every race that we've organized. So yeah, like when you're talking of an unknown sport in a nation not known for that sport, right? We're a cricketing nation. Koi nahi puchta, cycling is like one obscure idea somewhere in the heads of like 500 people. That's about it. Right? So, वैसे में it's very important that people from organizations kind of take a stance. I'm sure Aman has burnt more money sponsoring athletes than he's ever going to recover in cycling through Steadfast, but that's his commitment to the sport. And I think that's our commitment to brands that we worked with, that we kind of keep this partnership going forever. Yeah.
Do you think Aman, being a former cyclist himself, understands the sport better?
100%.
And what role does he really play because of this understanding then?
Absolutely critical. You know, that's how it happens across the world, right? If you look at European cycling or American cycling, it's people from the sport who've started companies who are now helping athletes.
Right.
So it's that understanding, and it's a passion-driven industry, right? Cycling is not a simple product. कि आपने एक product बनाया, that's mass commute cycling. But if you're looking at like recreational cycling, it's a hard product category. it's a passion-driven industry.
Hmm.
So only people who understand that passion, have that sense of what an athlete goes through, what a rider
Right.
goes through.
Hmm.
Only those people can like really establish a good product or a good brand in this space. And I think that's absolutely critical. Like, and that's why you see like some of these big traditional names have no clue what an athlete needs, right?
Hmm.
And that's why they've never been like in 100 years of existence, never been able to even establish one product in that category.
100%. Hmm.
Yeah.
Right. What role has Steadfast played in being the nutrition partner for so many of MTB Himalaya or other associated races?
A big part. So how I look at it is that cycling and the sport is 60% is your riding and your training and 40% is your nutrition, right? Uh, Before Steadfast came in, I don't think anybody in cycling was talking about nutrition.
Hmm.
I have mentored athletes from 2013 and there was literally no nutrition.
Hmm.
We would only talk about like, I mean, that's also great, like only the foods that you can eat, right? I mean, that's
Right.
also a big part of it, but nobody was talking about supplements. Nobody was talking about how to overcome those small deficiencies. Nobody was doing like analytics around it. So I think a partner like Steadfast kind of brought that whole gambit of products, supported athletes like unconditionally. So they played a huge, huge part.
Hmm. How would you say has nutrition changed for athletes then in the past 10 years?
A very interesting question. I think nutrition has moved from food to technical nutrition, right?
Okay.
And especially in the endurance space, it's very important because you're putting your body through a lot. Imagine like cycling races, like even go to 7 hours, 8 hours, right? It's no joke to put your body through a heart rate of 130, 140 for 8 hours. Every muscle in your body is breaking and then you need to recover. And, so I think brands like Steadfast, very few in the country, have kind of built products around that whole sequence, right? You need to have a certain kind of nutrition before a long ride or a long run, even. You have to have something through the ride that's like breaks down slowly, complex chemical formulas that slowly release energy. And then you need to have something for recovery. From 2014 to 2025, like the last 10, 11 years, the conversation has completely changed.
Okay.
People were not talking about how to recover well, right? People were just talking about how to perform in a race. Now that when you're doing a stage race, you have to do it every day, right? You have to do it continuously for 7 days. ऐसा नहीं है कि 2 घंटे का race है, you race for 2 hours and you're out of it. So I think nutrition is the most important part. In a long race, it's even more important. Like 50% is your performance, 50% is nutrition. And this is where brands like Steadfast have kind of changed the narrative, how people are thinking about nutrition, pre-ride, during ride, post-ride, kaise recover karna hai. All of that conversation has come into play. I think now even like the younger kids who are getting into the sport like at age 15, 16 are already talking about these things. पहले ऐसा नहीं था. Like in 2014, kids were not even probably using cleats, right? So the use of equipment, use of nutrition has really changed the game, and that's why you see like the performances are also improving. This was the first time Indian athletes in MTB got a medal at the Asian Championships. वो कभी नहीं हुआ था. So yeah, there's an improvement in all of these brands. This work of like so many years has kind of brought the result in.
Can you tell us what HASTPA is all about and how did it all start?
Yeah, so HASTPA is Himalayan Adventure Sports and Tourism Promotion Association. It's a not-for-profit. It's set up in Shimla. Its purpose is to promote the Indian Himalayas as a global destination for mountain biking and cycling, and also promote Indian athletes to reach a global scale, right? So you want to showcase India has the potential to be a global destination, which we firmly believe. Like the biggest mountain range in the world, the only safe part of Himalayas probably, and such a nice country, India. So all of these coming together, I think, have huge potential in the sport. So our objective is to kind of portray that, showcase that to the world, and also to build an ecosystem where Indian athletes can thrive and compete at a global level. And right from our school programs that we do to the Road to Himalaya, to MTB Shimla, to MTB Himalaya, all our races are designed in a way that Indian athletes get a chance to progress.
Okay.
That progression might happen in form of being able to ride with an international athletes. That progression might happen in terms of sponsorships, in terms of nutrition, in terms of athlete performance. It could be any of these various ways. HASTPA also works a lot with the government in Himachal on infrastructure around mountain biking.
Okay.
So we work very actively to build, we're working very actively to build purpose-built trails, like I said. And we're looking at like anywhere between 400 to 500 kilometers of a trail network in the state. And if that goes through, I think we'll have one of the most beautiful curation of trails in the world. So yeah, HASTPA's objective and vision and mission is that.
How would you say has HASTPA contributed to sustainable tourism and adventure sports in India?
So HASTPA, when HASTPA started in 2005, like I said, there were like 40, 50, maybe 200 people who were riding a bike around, right? Out of those, not even like 5 were coming to Himachal, let's say. Now, I think Himachal every year sees around 10,000 people who visit Himachal on their bikes every year.
Right.
A lot of local communities get involved in this whole process, right? So sustainable tourism is all around how do you create avenues of tourism which are responsible, which have a very low carbon footprint or impact on the very fragile Himalayan ecosystem. So our activities have kind of promoted that,
Okay.
where people have used bicycles or hiking as a tool to kind of explore these areas. And it's slow travel. Obviously, when you're biking or hiking, it's slow travel. So people come engage more with the communities. So you're not just engaging with set up big businesses, but you're engaging with like villages. You're engaging with small shops, small vendors. So that engagement kind of percolates down a few levels. It's a clean sport, so that's a big part. So yeah, that's been HASTPA's contribution in setting these guidelines also. And like I said, we actively work with the Department of Tourism. We've identified sites within the HPTDC properties where there is a network of trails. We built itineraries around it where people can come stay in these properties. Through our marketing initiatives, we've been able to kind of promote the state itself. So MTB Himalaya is also, in a way, an advertisement for the state government. We've been a part of Incredible India campaigns.
Okay.
Where the work we've done around has been showcased around the world, saying that there is this model of tourism also in India, which is very different from what you normally see people doing in the Himalayas.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and HASTPA also does some work with paragliding and hiking as well. Although our core has primarily been cycling, I would say 95% of our work is around cycling and mountain biking. We've done some work with paragliding associations, some work with hiking. Through Cycle Circle, we're also running and organizing bicycle tours in the upper reaches of Himalayas.
Let's now talk about Tour de Sonar.
Yes.
What is it and how does it differ from MTB Himalaya?
Oh, Tour de Sonar was a race or a cycling event that started for old Sonarians. So you know the Lawrence School of Sonar, right? In Kasauli, it's one of the oldest boarding schools in Asia. So Tour de Sonar was started as a part of their old student association, where they wanted us to organize an event for them, which we did. So the idea was to start a cycling club in that school and like kind of, lay the foundation of a cycling club and kids getting into the sport. So that happened. This was into 2016, I think the first edition happened. 50 people, 30 old Sonarians and 20 kids from the school. Next year, I went up to 70. The last edition that we did was, it didn't happen 2 years during COVID. Last edition we did, we had to shut it at 200 entries
Okay.
and like 6 schools participating. So what started as like an old student association event kind of became this big cycling event where multiple schools are coming in. And now we are in the process of starting a school cycling league with some of the biggest residential schools in the country. That's a work in progress. Um, we're trying to create cycling clubs in these schools. The Hero Group was very fundamental in kind of helping us to establish this. So if that happens, it is going to be one of a kind league which culminates at the Touris. So multiple schools are doing races within their campuses, etc. And the best 10 schools say come and meet at Touris.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and it's a beautiful campus. It's a 200-acre campus on a hill in Kasoli. The whole route is within the school. There's so much history in the schools. It's like a fascinating, very, very unique. It's a 2.5-kilometer loop. It's a very unique race. So people from Delhi are going to Kasoli to do this. Very different from MTB Himalaya. It's not as much off-road as MTB Himalaya. MTB Himalaya is a longer stage race. This is a short format, 2-day, 1-day event.
Right.
Quick in, quick out kind of an event, but super fun. Yeah. And it's also replicable. You can also take it to different schools.
Right.
If the concept works, you can scale it to like 200 schools in the country. And that really brings up like a revolution in establishing the sport at a
Also promoting that culture from a very young
grassroots level. Exactly. So it establishes that culture at a very, very young age. Then you don't have to chase people when they're older.
Right. How are the young participants from school reacting to this then? Are they really enthusiastic, or is there some sort of a resistance from them?
Kids are kids, so you'll always get a mixed bag. But the kids who've taken to the sport of cycling in school also are regulars now.
Okay.
Like I said, there's cycling clubs, bikes are parked in the school, so kids do their weekend rides. They're making their own teams. There's an inter-house thing happening. So I would say overall they've taken very positively to it. Obviously, initially when you bring in any new concept, kids are usually like, oh, we don't want to do it. What is this? We already play 3 sports. But once they get a little bit of a hang of it, I think they've taken to it very well. Yeah.
Let's talk about your latest venture now, Cycle Circle, as you're already wearing a t-shirt. So tell us, what is it about and what problem are you solving with it?
So Cycle Circle started as a bicycle YouTube channel.
Okay.
Right? Akshit that I spoke about, another rider, Ashish, we started this YouTube channel called Cycle Circle. We thought we'll just post videos about cycling in Himachal or whatever. Make it a little more fun, non-racing type of a thing. And we'll organize some experiences and tours. That's how the idea came into being. That's the first instance of the name coming together. But then then a bunch of us came together where we thought that in India's space, there's no one brand that has come out of pure cycling or pure adventure sports that's solving both products and community and experiences for people, right? That's how we jumped into it. Our initial first step was to kind of establish a certain bit of a presence through some e-distribution of bicycle products. But at the same time, we've started working with schools. We've started curating experiences. We also, at some point of time, want to bring in our own products into the space. So we want to solve like all 3 of these things. Because one of the things that we realize is that it's in this space, it's very important to have curated experiences and community along with products, right? What most companies do, they just make one product. They don't work with the community. They don't work with the experience part of it. And that's why it falls flat, right? And we're a country that also doesn't still have the vocabulary for adventure, right? It's a growing thing right now in India.
Right.
And in its incipient stages, so it's not established. So it's very important to establish that language, that vocabulary, uh, the experiences, bring the community together. So that's what Cycle Circle is going to try to do.
Okay.
So we are going to be involved with products. We're going to be involved with community initiatives. We want to take cycling to different cultures uh, in this space, of course.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what Cycle Circle is starting to do.
Okay.
Yeah, we're only 1 year old. Is when we started doing business. But yeah, the idea has been around for a while.
Okay. And how old is the YouTube channel?
Ooh, YouTube channel must be 4 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, just see, a lot of these ideas like come as a spark. You do 5-6 videos and then just goes on the back burner. So that's what initially happened. But it was always in our heads that we want to revive it. Instagram is pretty buzzing now, so
Okay.
that's a place you can see.
I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Why do you think there is a need for a product-focused cycling startup in India?
Very interesting. I think again, same what Steadfast did to nutrition, a product focused startup can do to cycling in India.
Okay.
It can change the narrative, right?
Okay.
It is going to come from people who understand both the consumer, the product, and the sport. Right now, the startups that are in this space don't do that. They're doing well, but they're not really changing anything in the long run. It just becomes another product. So it's very important that people who understand all three aspects of it kind of create the startup. That I think will change the narrative.
You've been a key figure in India's cycling scene. What do you think India still lacks in infrastructure when it comes to cycling?
I mean, we don't have any infrastructure. India has absolutely zero infrastructure. Our roads are unsafe to bike on. There are no dedicated, purpose-built sections to ride on. We don't have bike parks. We don't have custom trails. So yeah, infrastructure-wise, we're lacking. Also, we're lacking in safety. I think that's a big part. It's an adventure sport at the end of the day, right? At least mountain biking is. So, like you have safety protocols for paragliding or mountaineering. Something like that is totally missing in cycling. There's not even a dedicated body to look at mountain biking separately, right?
Okay.
It's only one federation which has very limited understanding of the technicalities of this side of the sport. So I think, yeah, infra-wise, we're still far off. And that's one thing that at HASTPA we are actively trying to kind of work on. But it's not something that we can solve on our own. It is something that basically the government of India or like one of these bigger organizations has to kind of come and support and say that, okay, we're going to put a foot down and do this. Like, for example, Hyderabad now has a really nice 40-kilometer segregated cycling lane, right?
Okay.
A lot of people like go and use it every morning. There are cities in India that have dedicated running lanes now, like in parks. So I think more infra has to come into this sport. Also, it will come, but it has to be a top-driven approach, like top-down kind of an approach. Not just like one or two organizations. I don't think they can solve it.
No,
The government
absolutely.
has to kind of
Startups or companies can come up with ideas, but the implementation has to happen from the government line.
through the government. Yeah.
Do you think India still sees cycling as a niche sport, or has it changed?
Yeah. I think India still sees cycling as a super niche sport. It's changed. If you ask me, in the last 15 years, 20 years, yes, of course, it's changed. Everything in and around fitness in India has changed and really shot up, right? But is it still mainstream? No. There probably has been in the last 10 years a 10x growth in every indicator related to either running or cycling. We might even be on a very high growth rate, but it's still a very small part of the population that's engaged. With cycling, it's different because like so many people in India still commute on a cycle.
Right.
But you can't, that's not recreational cycling. Recreational cycling is still super niche. Cycling as a mode of commute is pretty big, especially in the economically weaker sections. But recreational cycling is still only in very small pockets. That has to change.
Absolutely. But what is interesting to me is, have you seen somebody doing something very crazy on a bike? Like during,
Like on a bicycle.
yeah, like during events or, trails or races? Because we are talking about recreational cycling. So
Oh.
has somebody like stood up on a bike or, something like
Oh
that?
yeah. Those kind of things, yeah. People lie down on the bikes, with
Yeah,
their
that I've
tummy on
seen.
the saddle. I've seen people carrying beer on their water bottles. People are weird. They do random things. Yeah. Lots of these small incidents. I remember one of the MTB Himalayas. There was this MTB Himalaya 2012. Just going a little bit off topic here, but there's this guy called Jurubey Vatev. He's an art teacher in Uzbekistan.
Okay.
He rode his bike from Uzbekistan to first Bangladesh, took a flight from Bangladesh to Delhi, rode his bike from Delhi to Shimla, completed the MTB Himalaya, then rode his bike back to Uzbekistan. And this guy, I remember, would take BD stops on the way. Extremely fit guy, but like randomly he would just stop in the middle of the road, sit down, have a BD, and start riding again. So yeah,
Wow.
people do different and weird things.
Right. Have you seen somebody like lose their bike mid race or fall off a cliff?
Oh man, yeah, we have. In fact, I remember I told you about this guy who rode with Akshit, Jason English. Hilarious incident. Okay, we are at this camp called Gada Kufar. It's in the MTV Himalaya community. It's a very known camp. It's one of the most beautiful campsites. It's a meadow and surrounded by a pine forest, and it's usually day one of MTB Himalaya. You camp there. So this is year 2016, I think. Yeah, this is year 2016. Okay. Mohit had a fall. He wasn't at the race, and I got very sick. Okay. So both of us were kind of not there. So there's a lot of young team who was kind of handling things, and suddenly, and I'm not well, lying in my tent. Suddenly, this guy comes at 1:30 in the night, and he wakes me up. So first, I thought it's a leopard attack.
Okay.
A leopard has kind of come and attacked the kitchen or something. Okay, and I wake up. He's like, "Get up, get up, get up, get up! We can't handle it. We need you to wake up." Suddenly, wake up. I'm like, what? He's like, "Jason की bike नहीं मिल रही है." I'm like, what does that even mean? He's like, Jason की bike चोरी हो गई है. I'm like, bike चोरी हो गई है मतलब? I'm like, इस camp से who can steal a bike? They're literally just us here. He's like, no, we can't find his bike. And okay, and I'm like half asleep, and I suddenly like get to my senses, and I'm like, boss, what are we gonna do? This guy's a world champion. And he's like a sponsored athlete by one of the biggest bike companies in the world. We can't just make him sit on any other bike, right? And and in my head, I'm planning how long will it take for us to get a bike from Australia into India? What is the shortest flight? How are we gonna get it here? All permutation combinations we've been trying, right? So now so this happened for like 2 hours. We're trying to call the police. We can't just walk into a village saying ki aapne bike le liya. You can't just do that in a village. We are all freaking out, okay? And everybody in the night has gone on in different directions trying to look for that bike. Okay, it's so funny. Like in a forest, like people are just walking along with torches trying to spot a bike. You're not gonna spot a bike, but guess what? We did spot a bike. Some villager thought he's going to try the bike. Okay. But the seat was too high. Because this guy, like, he's a professional rider, so he rides with the saddle too high. This guy couldn't ride it. So he's gotten irritated and he's thrown the bike on the side. He's like, nahi chal rahi mujhse. And he's gone off. And we spotted it after like 2 hours. And the whole camp was like, we had such a sigh of relief. I'm like, wow. Mil gaya. So yeah, people fallen off the cliffs. We've seen ki bike like road pe reh gayi and we can't see the guy. The person thoda niche is like hanging off a tree. all okay, but like hanging off a tree.
Seen it in movies.
Indian Army has gone, like the riders from Indian Army have gone and like retrieved him, brought him back to life. Yeah, so seen quite a few things.
Wow. You should write a book.
I have written chapters in a book. I'll send it to you.
Yes. What would it take to make cycling a mainstream sport, not just a hobby, but like a lifestyle or commute choice?
Two aspects to it, right?
Okay.
One is how do you make it mainstream? So with cycling, I always see there are three sides to cycling, right? One is the commute side, one is your recreation and fitness side, and one is the sport side. ठीक है? Sport बहुत niche है. In a country like ours, the sport side is going to always be very small. But that sport side will drive the aspiration, right? So young kids are not going to get inspired by somebody going to work on a bicycle, let's be honest. That's boring and dull. But they're going to be inspired by somebody riding a bike at an Olympic course or winning a medal, being on TV, right?
Well said.
So that's where the aspiration part of it comes, right? Then the second bit of it is the fitness lifestyle, right? That is a natural progression. That is going to happen. Like it happened with running, where people are going to like take to running. You're going to get inspired by the sports side of things. You're going to realize you can't do the sports side of things, but you still want to do fitness recreation because the activity inherently, intrinsically is very beautiful. If you ride a bike, the sense of freedom, the sense of adventure, the sense of fitness, achievement, self-reliance, you get like so many of these emotions inside you. So that is going to happen progressively to that. The hardest part of it is going to be the changing the imagery of using it as a mode of commute. That is where a lot of interventions are needed in terms of both infra. You have to have safe spaces for kids to ride bikes, so elders to ride bikes, like bring back ride to school on a bike. A lot of people have done that, right? As kids go to school in cycles, but now it's just so dangerous, like cars have taken over. So that infra needs a lot of interventions. I think it will have to happen at three levels. Sports side, obviously, corporates need to kind of really step in, brands and corporates. Recreation, fitness is going to kind of, the sport is going to pull that up. This commute side is where the government interventions are needed, which are large scale investments, like building, let's say in Delhi, you want to build 500 kilometers of cycling paths, right? और वो ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि आपने एक 20 किलोमीटर का पाथ बना लिया एंड यू एक्सपेक्ट एवरीबॉडी टू यूज दैट. नो, वो रिक्रिएशनल वाले आ जाएंगे, बट पीपल हु कम्यूटिंग, उनको स्ट्रीट लाइट्स चाहिए. दे कांट अफोर्ड एक्सपेंसिव बाइक्स. They're going to ride normal bikes. They're not going to wear cycling jerseys. They're going to wear like normal clothes, like people go to work in. So वहाँ पे बहुत सारा काम करने की ज़रूरत है, जो ग्रास रूट ऑर्गेनाइजेशन और गवर्नमेंट को करना पड़ेगा. So it's still a journey, I think. It's not here yet.
Right. What would you say is that emotional glue that holds the cycling community together through tough trails and difficult weather?
Suffering. It is suffering. I think that's a big part of it. But like in any niche small thing, na, community formation automatically happens. In cycling, the good thing is कि जो communities बने हैं, they've also stuck around. मतलब social currency है. It's a big social currency now. Any form of fitness in India is becoming a social currency. So I think that's really helped. And then I think also events kind of help. Globally भी मैंने देखा कि same set of riders जो MTB Himalaya आते हैं, there's a high probability they'll meet at some other event in South Africa or in Brazil. And then when they'll meet, oh, we met at MTB Himalaya, now we're meeting here.
Right.
So then they'll hang out together वहाँ पे. So this crew kind of keeps traveling. And similarly, like you meet somebody at MTB Shimla, you basically are friends for life. Because you've gone through a process of pain and suffering and achievement and satisfaction together. You go through a journey together, which is hard, which is putting you out of your comfort zone. So you'll stick around.
Very good answer. Was not expecting it, but very true.
Thank you.
What has cycling and all your journey throughout this cycling and everything associated with it has taught you that no business or no book could ever tell you?
So much, like there's so much. There's no, again, like no one answer to it. I think it's just changed the way how I look at life, how I look at people. Uh, it has taught me that people can be with you even when you have nothing to give. You will find friendships in the strangest of places, like where it's least expected. You will find support when like everything looks dark and gloomy. Uh, and yeah, also that life goes on. Uh, it's, I mean, like I always look at it like this, like even if the core team is not there, MTB Himalaya will, like that. If the race is on, it is going to happen. Like somebody is going to show up and do it. So I feel like life, with or without you, life will go on. But at the same time, like some of the truest, like we discussed earlier, some of the truest friendships are formed in the most random of places, right? So that's what it has taught me. Like it has also taken me across my own socio-cultural circles and bubbles, right? I've had a chance to interact with people from all across the world, all across the country, learned a lot from them. So I don't think any business or any book or any course can ever teach you that. Yeah. To be able to kind of start something in a niche space and like hold on to it, build a community around it, that just like adds a lot to who you are.
Right. And a big achievement too.
Yeah. I mean, it is like, but like when you're in it, you don't look at it so much as an achievement, more as a medium of doing things. Like if you look back at it, like कि पिछले 10 साल में क्या, you'll think of it, हाँ यार ये तो achieve किया है. But when you're in that year trying to do it year on year, then you're just like going through the drill every year, right? Then you're just in the mode of doing things, right? So that doing thing actually, I think, teaches you a lot more than that sense of achievement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This sums up the whole podcast episode this time.
Thank you
I'm
so
really
much.
thankful that you took out time. And thank you for sharing all the insights, the gossip from the events, and everything in between.
No, thank you so much for having me here. Absolute pleasure. Love the questions. I'm glad I could share this story. And this is not just like my story. This is a story of like I said, 100 people who've contributed and built this organization, built this race, built this culture. So this is for all of them. I'm just kind of representing a much larger organization here. And yeah, we'll do a separate gossip session when you come to Shimla, which will be off camera, where we'll tell you the real MTB Himalaya stories.
Yes, done. Thank you so much, Ashish.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.